Let's bring in Queensland National Senator Matt Canavan. Good to see you, Matt. Well, we all sounded the alarm. We've been saying they needed to use all the tools that were at their disposal. This was serious. They didn't, and now it threatens the entire industry. What's your comment?
Look, Chris, it's an extremely concerning day. It's going to be a sleepless night for many Australians in the cattle industry, in particular across Australia. If this gets out, this could cost us $80 billion, according to the CSIRO. More importantly, it would devastate thousands of family businesses. I don't think that this new Labor government is really up to speed here. They don't understand that impact because they quite often don't get up to places like where I am today here at the Mining Expo in Mackay. In fact, there were no Labor MPs apparently at the drinks last night. It's just indicative of their lack of connection to these areas. But still, despite being concerned tonight, I also want to focus on perhaps the positive side of this. Hopefully this will be a wake-up call to the new Labor government, because my understanding is that the viruses that have been detected are not live, so we have not lost our clean green status at this stage. That's one positive. And now what we need is for Murray Watt and the Labor government to take this seriously. Finally, as you say, they're putting in these sanitation pads or bars, and we've been calling for that for weeks. My colleague Susan McDonald's been calling for that for weeks. We need to do more now. We need to advertise the fines and penalties that apply to people, because this would most likely come in from people just either inadvertently or just not being concerned about it, taking in products and not declaring them at customs. We increased the fines when we were in government to up to $120,000 for not declaring something that is prohibited. That should be advertised to everybody coming through, that you face those fines. Put it in front of people's faces to make people understand how serious this is.
Is it time to consider a ban on travel to and from Bali?
Look, I myself don't think we're at that stage. Speaking to the graziers I have this week, there's some divided views over that. We've got to be mindful of getting behind solutions that are sustainable and long-term. The unfortunate fact is that there probably will be foot and mouth disease in Indonesia for many years yet. So I don't know if we're in that COVID situation where we want to close our borders to Indonesia for 2 years. That would, of course, have enormous impacts on our tourism industry here in Australia, but it would also potentially damage that trade relationship, which we also need for our cattle and agricultural industry. So I'm not sure we need to do that as long as we have strict measures at the border. The other thing I would say here, though, Chris, is some of these products, these issues are coming through imported meat. So not people coming through with their feet, but the virus has been detected in pork from China. Why don't we ban that? Why don't we support Australian industry, Australian pork, and keep out the imported pork from overseas? Rather than trying to smash our tourism industry, let's help other agricultural industries and supply goods from Australian farms.
Now that the precedent has been set with pork products from China, I am so 100% with you. That should be something Murray Watt should have announced this afternoon, but we'll keep the pressure on him about that. Matt, we may be a day or two away from Beijing lifting the ban on our coal. I'm wondering whether this is such a great idea, you know. They can flick us again at the slightest sign that we're not obeying the brokered peace, and we're back to where we started from.
Look, it's a fair point, Chris, although I, of course, would love to have more customers rather than fewer. There's no doubt that China hurt itself more than it hurt Australia through these bans. We have been able to easily find other markets for our coal. As I said, I'm here at the Mining Expo in Mackay, and business is booming for the coal industry. I'm told when I go to Canberra and when I go there next week, Chris, I'm sure I'll be told the coal is dead. It's all over.
Yes.
It's gone. And then I'm here in Mackay, in the heart of our coal mining industry here in Queensland, and business has never been better because the prices are through the roof, even without Chinese demand. I think where your point does make sense, though, is I don't think our businesses will be rushing back into China. I think there may be even a premium, a China tax, if you like, applied. They'll need to be paid overs just to do business in China because of that risk that you mentioned, because of the lack of a trust there in the relationship. And in some respects, these bans have done a great favour to us because we have to continue to reduce our dependence on China. And I hope the new government, while in their desperation to reset the Chinese relationship, they don't lose sight of the fact that we are too dependent on China right now, that China is a partner that really can't be trusted. And while, as I say, I'd love to have more customers, I'm not against selling things to the Chinese people, but I think we should be actively and strategically trying to develop other markets and other customers so we're not put in a vulnerable position given what may happen in our region in the future.
Spot on. One quick one before we let you go. Australia's energy market operator has been forced to intervene in East Coast operations for the second time in as many months. AEMO triggered a gas supply guarantee after storage levels at Victoria's Iona storage facility plummeted to a record low, 42% of capacity yesterday. Here's another major calamity, probably instigated in part by incompetent politicians, Matt.
Well, I haven't had an opportunity to say this, but so just let me get this off my chest. How about the chutzpah of the Daniel Andrews government, who is out there complaining that the gas companies are too greedy and not giving them enough gas? This is the government that's banned gas production across its whole state. It's banned, really. It's put into its constitution. The Daniel Andrews government has put into the Victorian constitution a ban on fracking. And now they're complaining they're not giving them enough gas. I mean, guys, pick a side. They picked a side. They picked the renewable side. They picked the anti-fossil fuel side. And unfortunately, the chickens are coming home to roost for Victorians who may not be able to keep their heating on tonight. That is terrible. So we have to try and solve it. But where again is the Albanese government here? I haven't been critical about Anthony Albanese going overseas. It's not where his feet have landed that's my problem. It's where is his head at? Yeah. Because months ago, his government was talking about triggering the domestic security gas mechanism, keeping gas in Australia. They were talking about fixing it. They reckon it didn't work and they wanted to do it a different way. Well, where is it, guys? Where is the solutions here? We left you a solution in that mechanism. They could have pulled that trigger. They should do it ASAP because once again, just like we were talking about before about our food, we should be using Australian gas for Australian customers first, get that fixed, and then we can export the excess overseas.
Thanks for finding time for us, Matt. Appreciate it.
No worries, Chris. Have a good night, mate.
All right, will do. Matt Canavan.